very complicated. So those other tools are great if it's not a super complicated item. And then there's an extra credit tutorial on Moodle that is another way to select using the extraction tool. So sometimes that's good when it's a see-through item that you need to select. But this one's nice for just things that are a little bit more complicated. So I'm on ePark and I'm going to download one of the butterflies. I think I'll do this. Which one shall I do?
Where is this?
Park Street.
No, I'm on my park. Where is this tutorial? It's on the
It is. Oops. Photoshop lessons. Yeah, it's in Photoshop lessons. So the same place where the noise tutorial was and all that. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize it wasn't zoomed in. So yeah, it's up here, you know, where all the layer masking, cloud in the sky and stuff. So quick mask, there's two butterflies, and you're going to eventually have to have both butterflies. So your goal for this assignment is going to be to cut out these two butterflies and put them in a new file. Okay? But, you know, I specifically chose these because I think they're a little bit tricky. So I'm going to actually start with butterfly 2, I think, because that one's a little more tricky. So that's the one I kind of want to show you. Okay, and it looks like this. So I'll just show you a few examples. All right, so here you can see the person, you know, trying to cut out, you know, all of the feet, all of the antenna. So, you know, trying to get each antenna. Yeah, I know some of them are kind of entertaining. That one was sized a little small. Let's find a bigger one. But, you know, notice how the antenna and the legs are in there. Yeah, I'm not sure what Obama had to do with that. But, you know, each antenna fully there. They should be, some of these people didn't get the message, I remember. You know, you should have both butterflies, okay? And then you find the picture, I don't care what you put it in, it could be your own picture. This one, there was a problem, and I'm going to show you this problem in a minute. Notice how it's kind of see-through and grayish. Yeah. You know, take note of that, and that's what it looks like, and I'll show you what the problem was that they did wrong. But again, you know, getting every, and you want both butterflies in there. So you see this person got this one and this one. You know, if you can make them look realistic, that's great. Because if they're just kind of random, I thought this was a pretty good one. The person actually, you know, this was a different butterfly, but they actually kind of really made it look like it works in that file. You get the idea though, okay? All right, so let's start. So again, if we wanted to select this butterfly, what tool would you use to start? Like what selection tool? Right, there's lots of tools, right? So, you know, we've got the, I just went through this with the beginning students yesterday. We got the elliptical marquee, we've got the rectangular marquee. Probably wouldn't work very good for the butterfly because it's not a circle or a square. We've got the lasso tool, which would be really hard because it's more of a freehand tool, so you really have to have a steady hand. That'd be pretty tricky. We've got the magic wand, which works really well, but only on a plain background. So if that butterfly was on a plain white background, that would be the tool I would use, but it's not. And then we've got the quick select. So here's the thing about quick mask that we're going to use today, is it's best when you use it with other tools. I never go to quick mask right away, because it takes a long time. So if you can sort of get halfway there, and then switch into this quick mask mode, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So I would start with the quick select tool, which looks like a paintbrush, right? It says quick selection, it's right under the lasso. If you don't see it, it's probably underneath the magic wand. So you'll just have to click and get the quick selection. So that's the one I would go for. I always make sure before I start selecting things that I check my buttons up on my option bar. Do I have a new selection? And I do not right now. And especially, again, I just talked to beginning kids, so they're pushing every button they can possibly push. So you want to just make sure that you're starting with a new selection on this. All right, so I'm going to do the best I can. I know I'm not going to be able to get this whole butterfly with this method, but I'm going to do the best I can, and it'll get me kind of halfway there. If you don't have your navigator open and you don't know the keyboard shortcuts to zooming, you're going to be really frustrated with this. So I would get your navigator open. Go to the window menu and choose navigator. Or if you do keyboard shortcuts, you can do that too. Alt space bar. All right. So I'm just gonna, the key to this quick select brush is the brush size, right? You gotta have the right brush size. If it's too big, it's not gonna work. So if it's this big, you're gonna have a hard time doing it. You want it to probably be about that big. And that's using your brackets right next to the P key. And we simply go around the edge, and it does a pretty good job. Let me zoom out a little bit. It does a pretty good job kind of getting around the edges there. You can see there's some spots that it didn't do a great job over here. So I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller. And again, I'm just using the quick select tool. It's not any new tool. You should have been using this before. Space bar gives you the helping hand if you prefer to do that, or you can go over to your navigator and just move around using your red rectangle. Okay, and I'm just going around the edge and cleaning up all of those things that quick mask or that quick select didn't get. And again, you got to make it pretty small down here around the head. Now, these legs are where you're going to have problems, okay? So let me finish his body. When I get into the legs, that's where I have problems trying to get you can see it wants to jump. Oops, sorry. Let me zoom out and zoom in. So I'm going to stop there. I did most of the body with this tool, and it was pretty quick. Now I'm going to switch into quick mask mode, which is a selection tool, even though it really doesn't act like a selection tool. It's kind of a different world. If you remember, it's this button down on the bottom called Edit in Quick Mask Mode. Q on your keyboard will also get you into that mode. And when you click that button, you should get what's called a mask. And it kind of shows you where you have selected. This color shows you where you've selected things. Your mask might be a different color. Anybody's a different color? Blue or something? No? If it is and you sometimes blue, it depends on if you're painting a blue truck, it's hard to see. So you can change the color of this mask. It's just a mask. It's showing you where you were selected. If you double click on the quick mask tool, 2 clicks, you get the options for quick mask. So I think doing this particular butterfly, red is a better color. If I were doing a red ball, I would not use red because it would be hard to see. I would switch this to blue. So you can just click, choose red, click OK, and you're good to go. Another thing I would have you change is make sure that it says selected areas, which means that mask is showing you the areas that are selected. You don't want the mask to show you the areas that are not selected. Then you have to inverse it later. It's kind of confusing. I just think keep it at selected areas. It makes a lot more sense. And then keep it at 50% so you can sort of see through it. And then you'll have to go and turn it back on again. Yeah.
The whole outside of mine is red.
Okay, so you probably have yours at masked. So double click the button and change it to selected areas. Double click the quick mask button. Yep, and see where it says mask. Yep, change it to selected. Okay. Yep, so double click the button. Click on the blue square.
No, I know that's blue, but
Okay, so double click on the button. Select. Oh, so you don't have the actual butterfly selected. Hands off. Inverse. Yeah. When you did your quick select, somehow you didn't get your butterfly selected. I don't know. Now turn it on.
This last time they were like we was like the outside.
Okay, so make sure you're starting with a new. Okay. And let's do select. Let's start with green.
what's the color? Switch the color back.
Let's get the whole thing.
Yeah, it doesn't. Right. It just, it usually probably your brush needs to be a little bit smaller. Just like make it tiny. The smaller it is, the less it is. But we'll clean it up in a minute. That's close enough. Now turn your quick mask on. Okay, so then you turn quick mask on.
Okay.
Alright, so now we have our mask turned on. Yeah, I'm feeling work right here. Yeah, go ahead. Nope, we don't do books.
You guys don't do those. Do you know?
Yeah, no, we don't use book, we just do tutorials and stuff. I don't, you'd have to go back to the office.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you can see, I can see right now that there's a couple places. The red means what is selected. The white means any place that's not red means I don't have it selected. So we can paint this mask on and it'll follow our selection. So we're gonna grab the paintbrush. Okay, kind of like quick mask. If you paint with a paintbrush in quick mask mode, or like layer mask, then you're not gonna be painting, you're actually gonna be just masking or selecting. You're painting on a selection. So I'm gonna zoom on into I think the antennas. I'll do the antennas first, and then I'll go check all the other spots. So you can see how exact you can get with this. Let me make a nice small brush, use your brackets, or if you prefer, remember you can go up here and you can make your brush smaller up there, okay? And just get it down probably about 7 pixels. It's pretty small. Actually, mine's gonna go a little smaller. And then I'm painting the mask. Anywhere I paint is gonna be selected. So I can pick each individual pixel for selection. This is a really nice way to select because you can control what gets selected. Does it take a long time? Absolutely. But it's worth it because if you have a good selection, then you're gonna be able to, make it look more realistic. So I just paint on this selection. If I make a mistake, oops, I accidentally went outside. I can actually, it's just like layer masking. I can switch over here my black and my white. So these little, or I can hit X. And then it becomes an eraser. Okay, so white erases black. I just bring black forward. Black paints on. So I got black over here. If I want it to be an eraser, I switch to white. Now I can erase that out. Okay, remember how I said watch out, sometimes it'll have that milky look? When you're painting, you should have your opacity up here. Everybody look up at their opacity right now. It should be at 100% on your option bar. If it's not, then you're not going to be fully selecting. You're going to get that see-through kind of gray look. It's almost like you're just selecting the top layer. Which some tutorials will ask you to do that, to select like that, and to keep the opacity low, but for the most part, you want it at 100%. So yeah, it takes a long time to do this way, but really, when you have something this fine, oops, gotta bring back black. Incidentally, remember X on your keyboard will switch from black to white, because that gets old going over there and switching all the time. And I think you can get a lot more detailed if you just keep your left hand on the X. And that way you can just erase whenever you want by just tapping the X key and then tap it to bring it back. Once you get the antennas, once you get the feet, and then I would recommend that you go all the way around. So, go around the edge of this thing and start looking at anywhere you might have missed. Oh, I missed this area here. You can see real clearly that I missed this spot. So I want to fill that in. All right, so yeah, obviously it's going to take you a long time to do this. Just stop right now, because I know a lot of you are like, oh, but I haven't finished getting all of my feet selected or all the antenna. Just stop right now and let's just finish it off, and then you can come back and finish this. Okay, so let's say that we got it perfect now. Let's say that I went in, I cleaned up all this, and it's all perfect. Let's just assume. When you're done, you've got to turn the mask off. So over here, right, you got to turn it off, and you should see your ants marching around where you just, so there's the antenna I just created, and there's the ants marching around my antenna. So they're going to follow whatever you mask. So once you get that guy looking good, you're going to copy and paste him into another document. And then you're going to go get the other butterfly one and do the same thing. Here's what I see happen a lot. People forget to turn the mask off, and they try to cut or copy and paste with the mask on like this. So they're done with it, and they say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. You can't do that. You've got to be out of quick mask mode. You've got to turn it off. You got to have ants marching. Okay? Another tip I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to let you do your own deal. If you're working on this for a long time and the bell's about to ring, or you need to work on something else, but you don't want to lose, because if you save this document, you will lose your selection. It doesn't save with the document. You got to save it separately. In the select menu, go ahead and do this right now. That way, if you make a mistake, you can always get back to the spot. Like, I keep saving all the way along because I'm afraid somehow my machine's going to crash, and I'm going to lose all this selection. I just spent an hour selecting. Go to the select menu, slide all the way down to save selection. And you can see it's what document. The document I'm working in, which is Butterfly 2. It's going to make a new channel, they call it. I'm just going to name it, I don't know. Sometimes I'll go like Butterfly Select 1. And then again, if I get further along, I might do it again and call it Butterfly Select 2. Okay? And later, so now I can deselect, save this file. Later when I come back, I can go to Select, Load Selection. And you can see here I have a choice of Butterfly Select. And if I had other selections, I could choose those. Butterfly Select 1, I click OK, and it loads it right up. Right? So save your selections. If they're taking you a long time to make a selection, save it. That way you can get back to it later. Sometimes I know people who take 6-7 days to select something if it's really complicated. Questions on Quick Mask? Okay, so that's not due for a couple weeks. So if you have other things you want to work on, that is fine with me. This is just something those people that haven't got to do concept could work on. And I think it's a really important tool. It's really what I use when I have something that I can't select it any other way. So, okay.
Oh. What? I know.
Hey, so you know I registered for AV? Not sure when I registered. Like when like that notices school went out for AV. No, I know my hours got. When, how did you know to register?
Sent me an email and it's for only one month. They didn't remind us that that day.
Right. They got you.
That's an alarm on my phone.
Right. I'm looking into it. I'll let you know. And I have all the codes for you to start with.
Okay. Should I make files with my breath and concentrations like that for you to look at?
Yeah.
I've done that.
Yeah, and eventually you all have to do that no matter what. You're all gonna do the same thing. You gotta print your quality, you get those turned in. Anybody have any thoughts about where they can display? No? Okay. Alright. Well, sometimes we'll make it Yeah, I thought about that. Yes. I mean, like I said, we've got the 3 display cases out there. Yes.
For film, I have to like sublimate there. Right. Picture of it.
We'll turn it.
Yeah. This super long. Right. And then it's really jump in front of the wood. Is that color still
Sure, you can.
Yeah.
But were you gonna use quality?
No.
I don't need you guys have to design like how you want your display to look.
No, I'm done. What do I do?
That's what she does, right?
Okay.
So, you know, what your concentration like is. Brief, so that somebody can come up and say, what is this about? Like a really brief statement, you know. Whatever your commentary is, and everything, like you have to do commentary. And just like a 500 word, yeah, well, they only let you do characters in there.
Very cool. That's only 2 sentences.
Yeah, it's not very,
Yes.
it's not very long, so.
Right, I know. So, for the one that's gonna be put out in the hallway, certainly be a little more than that. Not too long, somebody's gonna read.
Okay, where do I stand? Where do I stand?
Which one's cool, this?
Just explain to anybody.
I can't see, back your head.
You gotta be really.
You must get to what closely, because it's like different.
Okay, that one? Or
Cause you like, okay, are you the right word you're
go back to
saying?
the other one? Okay, I like the stars in the other one, but I like the black one. I like the flash one, and then I like how you can see the stars on the ring. Oh, we put about the orange thing.
Yeah.
Can you put the one star in the other one?
I don't need to do that, you just do exposure. All the exposure a little bit.
Right.
I was gonna do one where I would make
Right.
So I'm gonna
Yeah, I mean, at least in the amounts, you know, I'm not sure about. When did you shoot the numbers? July.
Oh, right.
It's there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh?